We about to make a movie. Ooh-wee!
People of the internet, welcome to the Rebel Label Podcast. As always, my name is Arii Grove, ARII.GROVE. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, all that good shit. My latest album is out, The Cost of Innocence. Please check that shit out on Bandcamp. You can hit the link in my Instagram description, and it'll be right there for you. And today, I have on...
Brenboy, Portland, Oregon, hip-hop. What's poppin'?
There we go. Where are you from?
Well, I was originally from Heidelberg, Germany. That's where I was born. And then I moved to the United States when I was a little kid.
Nice.
And grew up in Southern Oregon, like right there on the border of California and Oregon. So probably like 45 minutes from the border.
Yeah.
But then I moved up to Portland in 2008 and been up here ever since.
That's a beautiful area because you're so close to the redwoods and shit.
Right, yeah.
I love that. I always pass through when I'm driving to LA.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm like, hey, have you been to Southern Oregon? They're like, oh yeah, Grants Pass. Oh yeah, I drive through all the time on my way to California. That's like the number one response I get.
Well, shit, now I feel bad. Damn.
No, it just means you're right in the mix. That's what my little town's known for. Weed, coffee, Dutch Bros coffee. That's where it comes from.
Shit.
Grants
Nice.
Pass. Good soil, good coffee beans. That's it.
But so would you consider yourself German, or were you like an army family and then you were based out of there?
I mean, I was an army family. My dad was in the army, but I wasn't born on a military base.
Oh.
So I was born in a German hospital. So technically, I'm German by citizenship, but I'm not German by blood, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Okay, nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I just I talked to a guy on the podcast a while back ago about that too. But he was a military baby and he moved around a lot. Was that your experience, or did your family move around a lot, or?
Not so much. It was more so like my family's from East LA. Most of my family is from Southern California area.
Yeah.
So him and my mom got stationed in Germany, where they had me. And once we moved to the United States, I was like 3 years old. We moved to Louisiana. So I was there for just like a hot second.
Yeah.
And then the plan was to go back to LA. But, whatever happened with my mom and dad, my dad ended up going to Texas, and me and my mom ended up coming up to Southern Oregon, where her parents were staying.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, we'll just go stay with them for a little bit. But my mom fell in love with the scenery.
Yep.
And it was just like hella peaceful, Tranquility up there is like, it's nuts. So she just kind of thought like, yeah, my kids could be raised here safely. That was her idea,
That's literally what my mom thought when we moved up here. Like, we took a trip up here, like, before we moved up here, and my mom was like, it's safe here. We're moving here.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, because maybe she thought the trees made us safe or some shit.
The trees and all the parks.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, you can really trust a city with a lot of trees and a lot of parks.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, all right.
Yeah, because I'm from South Florida. The only trees you see down there are palm trees. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of palm trees and concrete.
Wow, South Florida to Oregon?
Yeah.
Damn, that's opposite ends of the map right there.
Yeah. I guess you weren't cognizant of Germany, but did you ever like go back because you have like citizenship and stuff?
I haven't gone back, but that's like one of my main goals.
Yeah.
With my music that I'm like, I guess like a milestone marker that I'm trying to hit.
Yeah.
Is to go back to my hometown and perform there. And just kind of explore, because it's beautiful. Heidelberg is beautiful. If you ever seen pictures.
Yeah, I have. That's dope.
Yeah, there's like castles and the river is right in the middle of town. So I want to go back there and perform. That's one of my main goals.
Damn, I have always wanted to go to Germany. Just because, like, I don't know. You have, like, some sketchy history in the recent past, but, I mean, it's a beautiful place. And also, too, like, the scientific advancements that have come out of Germany and shit like that. And, like, I mean, the Autobahn, like, just all that shit. And I don't know, the culture is cool. Yeah. Like, I love the language and shit like that. And it just seems like a cool place.
Yeah. I definitely want to go visit and just, like, I want to go to the hospital that I was born at and just, I don't know, I think it'd be kind of cool, especially because I live in the United States now.
Yeah.
It'd be cool just to stand there and be like, this is where it happened. Like, this is where I came into this.
Yeah.
This life was right here, It'd be cool to just stand there.
It's always good to get in touch with your roots.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and I feel like that's sort of thing that like a lot of Americans like we miss out on. You know what I mean? Like the general we, because a lot of families are so detached from like where ancestrally they came from as immigrants or whatever that it's like, you know, I don't know, just being American. Suddenly nobody's okay with just being American.
Yeah.
You know, like
That did happen pretty quick.
yeah. You know, it's
I
like
don't know.
everybody's doing that 23andMe thing or whatever, and like finding out their history, yada yada.
That's
and
true.
it's like,
yeah. Have you done it yet?
no, hell no. My thing is, I don't want people having my DNA.
That makes sense. But they got it. Like, you know, anything that they can like find out about you. Like people were trying to like cover up their tracks.
Yeah.
It's like, man, there's a whole online database of
True.
everything about you.
True.
You know, they don't need your saliva. They got
Yeah.
data points out the ass on everything you've done. You know, this year.
Facts. Yeah, shit. Instagram already has all my analytics.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I was actually we were talking like a little bit before this. And you were talking about how like having more people come to Portland is a good thing, right? Because you know it builds up the city and more like fan base for hip hop and stuff. And that's so true because a lot of people don't think about it in percentages and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like there's only 1% of people that are gonna watch the podcast and then click on my Instagram description or whatever and then actually become a fan.
Right.
But the larger that the podcast grows, that 1% grows with it.
Right,
You know,
right.
that percentage doesn't change, but it's always like a good thing, you know?
Yeah, the more chances that you have to win, you know, like if there's, I think, do you remember the statistic of how many people were moving here per day? They like put it
No.
out in the paper, like it was like a couple hundred or something
Damn.
at one time. Because people started moving to Portland around maybe 2011. They started really flooding in.
Yeah.
People saw like Portlandia, the show, and they thought, oh, that's like a cool place, but it's like best kept secret. You know, I'm going to move there. But so many people moved here at one time, that culture kind of died out, you know?
Yeah.
And so a lot of artists, a lot of just people in the artsy community, artsy folk in general, we're always having that conversation like, man, they're tearing down our culture. They're coming in here and it's just not what it used to be. It's not what I, you know, grew up cultivating. But I see it as opportunity because it's like as more new people move in, they bring in more possibilities. If I'm only having my music heard by people that live here and it never grows, that doesn't bring in more opportunities to expand. I'm just pitching to the same people over and over again, you know? So I see it like that, like X amount of people come through, X amount of people are going to be hip-hop fans. A small percentage of them are going to find me on some random hashtag on Instagram, hashtag PDX hip-hop. And my post is going to be up there, and they're going to be like, oh, what's this about? And it's a flyer of a show I'm hosting. And they go to the show, but they hear me rap, and then they finally listen to my music, and I get half a penny off of that stream. So that's the kind of hard work that us independent artists in Portland are doing. But more people coming in is more opportunities to, you know, win.
Yeah, and it's always a balance too. You know what I mean? Because like on one hand, like the whole gentrification thing is real. You know what I mean? But it's almost like it's almost inevitable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like I saw the same thing happen with Miami. You know what I mean? Like maybe not directly, it happened before I was born. You know, but like it happened. Right? But in the large scope of things, like looking at a city like Miami that was built off of literally drug money, like cocaine money directly, it's like that ended up being a good thing for that city. Because now it's like there's a lot of immigrants in that city and it's, you know, it's got a lot of diverse culture in there. And you got a lot of people that love living there because of, you know, the way it is. Right? And it's like Portland is in that weird in between. You know, where it's tough seeing like all those stores closed, and I hate seeing that shit. Like in my neighborhood, like St. John's where I live right now, like seeing all those like restaurants that I've been eating at for years closed down, and like all of that shit. Like it's not a good thing, but like you got to take the silver lining with it, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's happening. So
Yeah.
either you roll with the the rotation of the world, or you try to fight against the current, but
and you drown.
what do you think's gonna win?
Yeah, 100%. It's like I was just talking about that with somebody else just today. It's like you either roll with the tide or you end up drowning.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're only individuals. We can't change everything, And it's like, for me, I always try to find like the positivity in that seemingly negative situation.
Yeah. That's what's up, man. I like that. I'm the same type of way.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know, man. When I get bogged down in that shit, it makes me depressed.
Yeah. And that's like, depression is, well, respect, for everyone who has gone through it.
Yeah.
I definitely had like a theme of depression.
Yeah.
Maybe like midway through high school into my early 20s. And then after like a while, things started clicking for me and it started happening less often.
Yeah.
But something that like really helped me understand what was going on was just looking at everything like a frequency.
Yeah.
So when I look at, because it's like what's the vibration of it, right? There's an actual number that goes with it. And I think it's literally has to do with like how many times that wave passes the origin, and if it's like really high frequency is like love, enlightenment, content, joy, happy, depressed, anger, mad, sad. Those are all like really low frequencies.
Yeah.
So I started like trying to pay attention to that shit, and that was the turning point that made my like depression spurts kind of shorten or be less frequent. I started thinking of it in terms like, okay, what makes me vibrate really high?
Yeah.
Smoking some weed, rapping. I'm like the most happy when it's a Saturday night and I know people are like, I know there's like 5 things I got invited to, but I decided to like tell everybody maybe, and I just stayed home and I'm in like my sweatpants, and I'm just like playing new beats that some people sent me and I'm writing some new shit.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like literally my highest self.
Yeah.
Smoking a little weed, sipping a little, just doing cool shit like this, that's when I'm my highest self. So I just started doing things that made me elevate. And anything that didn't make me, anything that like was serving me on the other end of the spectrum and bringing me down to those lower vibrations, I just stopped doing that shit,
Yeah.
And I just kind of made it like simple for myself. Like, I love making music. I love promoting shows. I love producing for other people, helping grow brands.
Yeah.
I love the whole game. It's like my hobby, and that kind of like made it to where I can just appreciate all this during the process.
Yeah, actually, that's really interesting. I used to know somebody that was a sound therapist, and she would talk about a lot of that shit, right? And I'm a extremely skeptical person. Like, it was hard to meet someone more skeptical than I am. Like when I read an article on CNN, I'm like, if it's not on BBC and NPR and I can't fact check it, it's not true. You know what I mean? So when I heard about sound therapy, I was like, whatever.
About this hippy dippy shit.
Yeah, exactly.
This was kind of weird.
But then she convinced me because she did the sound therapy on me, and I was like, okay, well, and it actually worked. And like I went back to a few sessions and I did it when I got hit by a truck and my wrist got shattered, and it actually like helped me, and it helped like my body recover in conjunction with other therapy.
Wow.
And it like actually opened my mind to like what you were talking about, like the different frequencies doing different things. And then it like sort of got my mind going about like music and stuff like that, and like making music in the frequency that like you want it to across the board, and it's cool because it's backed by actual science.
Right. That's where it becomes a little bit more, because humans, like, especially nowadays, we like tangible evidence, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Because there's so much fake news. There's so much crazy stuff people are pushing. So we want to be able to fact check it and be like, oh, yeah, boom. That's the thing, like, my simplified version of what I'm saying is... like you said, it's scientific, I can. It's not just some crazy stuff that I was some sort of like armchair philosopher and just trying to be like, you know what? Frequencies are real, and here's how we should use them. Yes. And I just like tell it to my group of friends, and all of a sudden I'm a philosopher.
No, it ain't no Gwyneth Paltrow pseudoscience shit.
Right. You could get like a literal scanner and like scan brainwaves now, right?
Yeah.
You can see when someone's doing whatever activity it is that gets them elevated. If you were scanning their brain and they're like low, and they started doing whatever that activity is, let's just say it's like deep breathing.
Yeah.
You can like scan their brain and watch as those brain waves turn to like, from like beta brain waves to like delta or theta or whatever.
I know what
I'm
you
talking
mean.
about.
Yeah, it's hard to remember all those terms.
Right, but you can like, this is real.
It's backed.
It's backed.
Yeah. No, I love that type of shit too. And it's like, I don't know, there's a lot of like misinformation out there, but it's like seeing shit like that gives me hope, because it gives even more like credence to my big philosophy of balance, because that's like my main thing. And it's important to focus on stuff that like, makes you happy and like fulfills you in that way. Because you just going out in life is going to depress you. You know what I mean? Just going out in life is going to stress you out. Driving down the street, somebody's going to cut you off, like all that shit. And it is, I like what you said. It's important to like cut out those things that are bogging you down at home, because it's important for home to be a safe space. Especially if you didn't have that when you were a kid or yada yada, whatever, like it's almost one of the most important things.
Or if you did have it as a kid and you're so used to it that when they dump you out into the world, then you're like, whoa, I'm not used to living this, things start happening with your frequencies, right? So it's like, and that's why I always bring it back to like the frequency level, is because what somebody over here is going through, and I might look at it going like, oh man, you had it so easy. Are you kidding me? That's what you're complaining about? Oh my God. Oh man, and I might get hyphy about something like that. Like, but it's like, no, literally what happened to that person, if they dropped down to like 150 hertz, and then some situation over here happened to me, and it's something completely different, and it dropped me down to 150 hertz. And we were both complaining about what happened to us in life.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, you don't understand my struggle. And I'm like, you don't understand my struggle. And then we pulled out our measuring sticks and we're like, oh, wait. Oh, you do understand it. 150? 150. Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, you get it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's actually, I like that a lot, because it's like, you're right. There's always that game of, I went through something worse than you. You know what I mean? And and you're very right about that. And it's so easy for us to put on our victim caps, and to say that like, I'm a victim because of this. I'm a victim because of this and that. And it's a very like American mentality, you know. And that's something that that is definitely it's negative, because it's when you're actually a victim of something like. That's terrible, like whatever situation it is, like that is a bad thing. But my main focus is what do you learn from that? And then how can you take that so you don't perpetuate that cycle, so that you don't do that same thing, and to make sure that you better your life. And I feel like that's what we're missing in the conversation of being Americans, like you're talking about. It's like, let's not try to compare our struggles, because like whatever your worst struggle is yours and mine is mine, and that's okay, but let's grow together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to, see what you said even goes further of what I'm saying. Like you're taking that information and saying, oh, here's what we go do with it now. That's the whole reason why I even bring up something like this, or that's the whole reason why us as artists, we want people to connect with it and be like, ooh, thanks for the gift. I'm going to go do something with it, So that's ideal right there, is for somebody to hear the way that I was able to just kind of like start living more happily, especially as like a starving artist, struggling artist, Even when I was in that phase, I never thought of it like that. It was like, it was never a thing. It was like, I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm heading. This is just a phase. This is just a pit stop.
Yeah.
So it never really, worried me too much. But in those moments where you're like, oh man, I'm about to give up, or It's just whatever that means, give up on blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This is the way I was able to like kind of flip it and just start living more consistent, happy days.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I can like somehow relate that message through my music, even if it's not directly saying it, but just like by my actions or doing, interviews like this, being able to like address it, who knows how many people are going through the same thing. And it might just take like a conversation starter for someone to be like, hey, I know I've heard this several times, but I like the way Brenboy said it today. That helps,
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the best parts about being an artist. You get to influence people in a positive way, even if you only make sad music. That's one of the best ways that you can influence people in a positive way, because you're giving them that reinforcement. Like, I went through that too.
Yeah.
The same thing you were talking about. I mean, shit. That's why I listen to Kid Cudi humming. You know what I mean? It's like I listen to that shit.
Sure.
I'm like, It's like, oh shit, Kid Cudi, you gotta do it to me like that. Like, oh, now I'm in my feels, and it makes me feel a little bit stronger. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, that Kid Cudi humming, that reminds me of that shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like, I mean, real talk, I needed that reminder too, because it's like, it's easy to fall into that cycle. It really is.
Right, because it's just a loop. You're going back to reiterating the same things that just happened, and it's like, well, yeah, they're going to continue happening if you keep living it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I live my life so much by the present and my actions, and that's why I loved that you talked about actions, because it's so important, like you said, to focus on, I went through this, I learned this, and I'm going to do this. And I love that you touch on that, because it's that real life application that changes your life.
Right.
And it's like, at least the way that I live, it's like I hear good new information, and then I process that, and I might not believe in this yet, I might not even believe in myself, but I can do this action enough to prove to myself that I am worth it.
And just like starting a new song, people will say, hey, every good song starts with a good idea. Realistically, every good song starts when you actually make the song, or like, like I got ideas all the time. Like I'm thinking of some cool shit right now. Come on, man, action.
I mean, shit, some of my best songs have started off with a weird idea that ended up being terrible, and then in the last 5 minutes it was cool, and then it ended up being good.
Yeah. That's always the weird thing about like being the parent of the song.
Yep.
It's like you want to like guide your child in the right direction, but you also, if you wrote it as a love song and it becomes an anti-love song, you gotta let it do its thing, man. Like
100%.
That's your kid. Like, hey, I guide you, but hey, you're gonna grow the way you grow. It's about the track. It's not about me. It's about the track, right?
I like the way you said that, because it reminds me to the like Greek concept of genius, where the word originally originated from. The Greek concept of genius was not you are a genius, but you have a genius. And your genius bestows upon you the gift of what you can do in the writing or in the art or whatever. And they used to say, oh, my genius was off today, so I wrote a bad song, or I wrote a bad book and people didn't like it. They wouldn't blame themselves. And that's why I like that you use the analogy of, your song is your child, because I mean, at least that's the way I think about it, and that's how I feel.
I get that. Genius. I've heard that before. Does it come from the root word jinn?
Yep.
Like the jinn as like a group of people, right?
Yeah.
And they were kind of like a mystical, magical kind of genie.
Yep. Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but yeah, that's interesting.
That's why I love watching TED Talks. I feel a little bit smarter after I finish that.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Have you ever met somebody that like that they just like consume a lot of TED Talks because everything just sounds like they're reading Snapple Cap facts? It's like there's no like thought behind off of it. They're just like, oh yeah, here's something. And you're just like, Did you just learn? Are you a sophomore in college that is just like really excited about change?
Yeah, you just heard about Nietzsche and now it's just a pop word to you.
Anytime you find a way to like squeeze it in that who that is, you do it. You know?
Yeah, it's like, man, I met Jay-Z once. It's like, good for you, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I mean, I definitely was that way for the longest time.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I mean, I kind of love that I was that way too, because it was the precursor to how I am now. You know? And like, people would give me so much shit for when I acted like that, and I would just give them the Snapple facts of shit. But it's like, that was, at least from my perspective, that was the necessary precursor to me having a deeper understanding, because that's just my learning process, you know? And I'm a little slow, so, you know, it takes me a few years. But,
Respect.
you know?
Well, just like rapping, you learn that you're become a good rapper because growing up, you started rapping Jay-Z's lyrics over the radio, right? Or Eminem's lyrics. And you start like rapping so much like that person, you're like, oh, I'm going to try to do my own stuff. You know, so it's like you absorb some information, then you like almost personify it, and make it your own. Like, how would I do this if I was me? And then you like regurgitate it, but with your own spin on it. That's almost natural to do, right?
Yeah, it's true.
That's how any of us learn stuff. Like, I guess all my stuff is copyrighted from elementary school, 'cause that's where I learned the ABCs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shit, there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's something that I think about a lot. It's like there's absolutely nothing new. I mean, shit, I was watching this interesting YouTube video the other day of these two guys that copyrighted as much like MIDI music as they could, like almost literally as much melodies as they could. They used a computer to do it. They got millions of melodies in 4/4, and then they copyrighted them.
I've heard some crazy shit. Like, have you ever been listening to like lo-fi hip-hop playlist on Spotify or some lo-fi electronic playlist on YouTube?
Yeah.
And you know how like you'll hear a song and be like, oh, and you look at the artist and you're like, I've never heard of this person. You click on their profile and you go Google them and there's like no info on them. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh yeah.
That happens to me sometimes, and I start noticing like, who are these artists? And like, I get, anyone behind a computer can make up an artist name and just start putting it out. They don't have to be known. But I started doing the backtrack research and talking to people on the phone and trying to like uncover what's going on. And this is what I learned. They actually have like algorithmic songs that are being pumped out by computers. So that DJ name on that playlist is not a person. It's just a computer 37 that started scraping for melodies, words and phrases that are popular at the moment. And then it started like making a song, and then they put out just a bunch of them. So if you look at like 30 of those artists that put out this music, they're all owned by the same company, because it's just like a building that has 50 computers, and each computer is a DJ, right? Or a musician.
God, New Jabez is turning in his grave right now, man. Dilla is turning in his grave.
For real, bro.
Damn, that is...
I talk to a lot of people, though. Like, you know, I'm the urban music director at 90.7 FM, KBOO. And I host a show called Rip City Basement. And so I'm constantly on the phone with people, interviewing them, or face-to-face with people, learning. Yeah. So I'm collecting knowledge, like soaking up game, you know, from real players. Yeah. And I'm starting to learn all this stuff, and that's how I start just piecing stuff together and kind of start, like, carving out my lane. Yeah. But, yeah, I've learned so much stuff that beyond my artistry. Yeah. That I never thought I would, like, dive into, you know.
When did you start getting into music and trying to figure out, like, oh, maybe this is my lane?
Well, I started from the slam poetry scene. So growing up, I was writing poems. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school: football, basketball, baseball. Constantly just in the mix of, like, sports and social life. Yeah. In my school days. But secretly, I was writing poetry and entering poetry contests since I was 9 years old. And it wasn't like I was doing it secretly on purpose. Yeah. It was just that, you know, being a jock, you're not like, yeah, I'm the star football player, captain of the football team, president of the high school, and I like to write poetry in my room, you know?
Yeah, no, it's
just, you know, so...
You're not going to fit into their box.
You're not going to fit into their box. And I come from Southern Oregon, which was a certain mindset of boxes, you know, because there has never been like a rapper to make it out of Grants Pass, Oregon. You know, especially. Well, yeah, actually, I can't think of anybody down there in that area that's made it out for like. And I mean, like we get people with like some micro success, and I even myself would call it like anything I have right now is just like micro success. But the fact that I was able to make it out of there, and do this professionally is crazy to me. But it all started from the poetry scene, competing in those written contests in high school, coming to Portland, and I found slam poetry, and they ran these contests like it was a sport.
Yeah.
And I'm an athlete, so I know sports. I know how to compete. So I was doing poetry slams, and then after I took, third place in the Northwest at the college level, I was on the Portland State team. And I have like a college medal that says, third
That's
place,
dope.
And they, like I said, they treat it like a sport,
Yeah.
So I realized, okay, I'm kind of nice with writing. I knew I wanted to be a writer.
Yeah.
But I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it yet. And people kept saying after the poetry shows that I'd win, they'd be like, I really like that, man. So you're a rapper, right? And I'm like, oh, no, I'm a poet. And it just kept happening, Oh, I heard your rap recently. Oh, no, that was a poem. And then finally people were like, hey, man, I hear you're rapping now. And I'm just like, yeah. Yep, I'm rapping now. And then next thing you know, I got all these like lyrical skills.
Yeah.
But I had to figure out how to put beats behind them and how to package it correctly, to make it consumable.
Yeah, that's the hardest part.
I can't walk up to someone on the street and be like, I just wrote this poem, you want to buy it? $10.
Yeah.
No? $5?
Trying to barter and shit.
I'll pay you $1 to just hang it on the wall in your room or something,
Yeah, and I like the humility that you said before too about right now you're in the small success and you're continuing so that you can grow into the larger, and I just appreciate that because a lot of people will hesitate on that, and they'll hesitate to acknowledge the small success, but that small success is so crucial to the growth, and that is part of the process, like you said, and it's necessary to have that in the beginning because that shows you where you're going to be when you get bigger.
Yeah.
And I mean it's said a lot to trust the process, but the actual grind of it is the hardest part, and part that not a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
Because it takes years.
Yeah, it's motivation that'll get you started. But it's habits that'll keep you going. You dig?
Yeah.
So like a whirlpool. You ever been in an above ground pool with your cousins at a barbecue, and all of you guys are on the outside of the whirlpool, and you're just, come on guys, everybody do the same thing. If we just keep doing this, eventually we'll just float. We don't even have to work no more. It's just what we do. We're just going in this motion.
Yeah.
That's how I think about it with, music and like trying to advance is you just have like certain habits, like that you do, and I study success habits of other people.
Yeah.
And kind of figure out like what's the common denominator between these people that I want to be like. If you want to be a bum on the streets, you should go talk to a bunch of bums and like hang out with them. You'll probably be right there with them, But if you want something else, find a group of people that are already doing something similar and try to pick up on their characteristics while keeping your authentic expression, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what you're saying, it is important to congratulate yourself on micro wins. You don't want to sip your own Kool-Aid too quick.
Absolutely.
And you know what I mean?
Moderation.
Yeah. But also, it's important to think of yourself as a winner. Like, yeah, I just won, because it's that, like, frequency we're talking. Every day I look in the mirror and I'm like, yeah, I just won yesterday. I'm a winner. What do you think's going to happen tomorrow? Probably going to wake up thinking I'm a winner.
Yeah.
So if I constantly am thinking like, oh yeah, I'm the dopest MC in the Northwest. I'm the dopest MC in the Northwest. Oh, hey, look at that guy in the mirror. Dopest MC in the Northwest. What do you think my reality is? You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what other people think. I'm going to get close to that.
Yeah.
And the proof is in the pudding now.
Absolutely.
Boom. We're here.
There you go. Who are some poets that influenced you when you started writing poetry?
When I started writing poetry, I wasn't influenced by any other writers. It was a matter of my mom telling me, you know, because I grew up without my dad. It was me, my mom, my sister. And at a young age, she told me, she said, sometimes you talk a lot and you have so much to tell me. And then other times you go like 2 months without saying much at all. And she's like, what's up with that? And I'm 9, so I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I don't know, recess. You know, I don't know what she's talking about. I have no idea what to call it. I don't have those terms yet.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of shook it off, like, I don't know, Mom. And then she said, well, maybe if you don't want to talk to me during those times, you could just, here's this blank book. She gave me like a cool journal to write in. It had some like skateboarder monkey on it. You know, I was really into skateboarding back then. Favorite animal is a monkey. So she like gave me this cool journal. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. And she was like, you don't have to show me what you write. You don't have to tell me. It's just basically you're writing to yourself.
Yeah.
But you can write whatever you want. And something clicked with me like, that's tight. I can write. You know, something just fascinated me about it. So I just went to town and started writing. And then next thing you know, I did show my mom a couple things that I wrote and entered them in contests, and then I won. And that's when I was like, all right, you know, hey, I'm winning. I'm good. Like, just became like a habit, you know, and now I just write. But there was never nobody taught me how to do it. No one taught me any structure.
Yeah.
It was just me writing in this book that my mom gave me until I got to my early adulthood, and then I found people like Kanan. You know him from Somalia? He's like the nephew of one of the most famous singers in Somalia, and he's a poet. You know, he comes from the poetry scene.
Yeah.
And later became a musician. And I always looked up to his raw style. Mos Def, Talib Kweli, Common.
Yeah.
Just people who were like, you could tell like these guys are poets, you know?
For the love.
For the love. And they can spit like it's real without any music.
Yeah.
Someone will be like, oh wow, this guy's talented. And that's kind of what I hold myself to is like anytime, anywhere, any place, it don't matter. Drunk, high, tired, awake, beat, no beat, I can spit bars. You know? In the desert or in the city, I can spit bars. And not every artist can say that because they might be a guitar player. They might be a drummer. There's only certain things you can do, but me, it's like all I need is my voice. And that's why I respected all them poets, was like, they could take this shit anywhere and captivate a crowd with just their body, you know?
Yeah, it's a powerful experience. You know, it's like for me at least, it feels like channeling something.
True. A lot of channeling, yeah.
It's definitely like a lost art form, especially nowadays, coming from the perspective of for the love of the words, you know, and it's beautiful on one hand, and then also on the other hand, it's a little bit sad, at least to me, coming from that same thing, you know, because like it's a lot of kids nowadays are coming from like, you know, it's like I heard this kind of artist and I want to make like this kind of music, you know, and you got to appreciate it, you know, because it's like you take things where they can, and you know things are moving in a different direction, but like the people that did this, we can still learn off the backs of them and take it into this new way and bring this old approach into a new system.
Yeah, that's like my motto in the type of music I make and in the type of music I present is you know, it's kind of bridging the gap between hip-hop fanatics demand to hear traditional technique
Yeah.
and this new age electronic obsession.
Yeah.
Crazy effects, cool vocal chains, crazy stuff that's going on with vocal effects. Different instrumentation, crossover stuff. That's what's popular now, is like this electronic musician era.
Yep.
But, so I'm down with that. But I gotta keep that traditional technique that hip-hop fanatics still want to hear.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's that grounding, and to me, it's like, it's that feeling of like musical home, from that hip hop perspective. That just reminds me, it's like where this art form came from, and I'd rather stand on the shoulders of giants, than stand directly on the concrete. That way I can look just that little bit further above into the horizon, you know?
Respect.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the conversation we've had. It was definitely enlightening for me. Got me thinking about some different shit than I usually do, so I appreciate that, definitely.
Respect, bro.
And I'm glad all of you viewers could tune in for this great conversation. As always, my name is Arii Grove, ARII.GROVE. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, all that good shit. Go check out my new music. The Cost of Innocence is on Bandcamp. Please check out my trash and tell me it's trash, whatever you feel like. Do you. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Tinder. Follow me there. I'm also at Brenboy 503 on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, at Brenboy 503. Everywhere like air, baby.